Stellar sees $3 billion of real-world assets coming on chain in 2025, in addition to existing partnerships with Franklin Templeton and Wisdom Tree. Stellar is working with a new round of tokenization specialists such as Paxos, Ondo, Etherfuse, and SG Forge. Joining us now to discuss is Tomer Weller, Chief Product Officer at the Stellar Development Foundation. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. How's it going?
It's going fantastic. We are both enjoying all of the things that Consensus have to offer. How's it going for you?
It's awesome. Yeah, we have a little builder house going on. It's great to see all the developers as well as all the fine business development people and marketing around here.
Please.
We're talking about the Stellar Development Foundation. Talk to us about where you were last year compared to where we are this year.
Sure. So 2024, we had our biggest upgrade to the Stellar protocol. We brought smart contracts to the Stellar network. And so with that, we can really say that now the Stellar protocol is feature complete, already seeing great product market fit. Both, Stellar's been around since 2014, strong product market fit in RWA, strong product market fit with on and off ramps globally around the world, disbursements, and so now we're feature complete. 2025 is all about accelerating that growth.
I've spent a lot of time over the last 3 or 4 years with Stellar. We've been in Davos together, we have multiple meridians, and this is that moment, I said this to Danelle in October at Meridian, where it just felt like all the pieces were clicking between all the ADIS stuff that you guys were doing, remittances, like no one really gets payments the way that Stellar does. What do you think was necessary for you to keep focus on that when there was so much other stuff happening in the world of crypto that you could have probably said, oh, we can make an easy buck here, but we want to really focus on this? How did it feel to stick to your guns and now get to the place where you are?
Yeah, I think you touched on the crux of it. Like at the end of the day, Stellar has been laser focused from day one on real world utility. Started out cross-border payments. Today we're expanding that to more everyday financial services via our smart contracts platform. But at the end of the day, this idea of equitable access has been with us all the time. This mission has been close to us. And like you said, there's a lot of narratives going on. Narratives come and go. We've seen a lot of these, but really have been focused on the equitable access piece. And I think it's great to see a lot of people and a lot of blockchains, a lot of ecosystem kind of coming to terms and understanding that this is really where the great value of blockchain is. And so it's just amazing to see all the infrastructure that we've built throughout the years is finally paying off.
You talk about narrative, and one of the emerging themes this year and even here at the conference is tokenization of real-world assets. You talk about that accessibility that really is at the core of Stellar. How does tokenization of real-world assets, which I feel is kind of being dominated right now by the institutional conversation, not really the accessibility conversation, fit into that narrative for you?
Yeah, so I think Stellar has really been built for tokenization. So tokens are a first-class primitive of the Stellar protocol. Always has been. Compliance and accessibility have really kind of been baked into the protocol from the ground up. We have more than 400,000 on and off ramps around the world that allow you to move from cash today to DeFi on Stellar. And so RWAs were really always kind of part of the picture. We're really glad to see institutions coming on board. We have players like Franklin Templeton, like Wisdom Tree, Ondo are coming on chain. Right now, there is a lot of institutional capital, like you said. We're really excited about moving more to retail and having assets that play along well with the retail use case, with self-custody, with DeFi. A lot of the existing RWAs, and it's amazing stuff. We have more than $500 million worth of RWAs on Stellar right now. A lot of these assets are very limited in functionality, and in order to really unlock this idea of equitable access, we want to see retail access. You mentioned Etherfuse before. Etherfuse are a company. We're really excited about tokenizing government debt. They already have a Mexican debt asset on Stellar, CETES, similar ones in Brazil and launching in other areas too. And I think these assets really unlock the full capabilities of RWAs. And not just that, I also think they're doing a good job in diversifying the type of assets that we have. We talk a lot about real world assets. Most of what we see right now are mostly kind of like money market denominated, like T-bills, US dollar denominated tokens, and we want to see more variety. We're working with Société Générale in France, for example. We want to see more international players come on board.
Do you think that, tokenization starting in sort of TradFi makes sense, but real estate and loans and debt, I think, are great examples of the idea that anything can be updated, and the traditional finance system is filled with friction, and really Stellar, like many of the chains out here, are trying to just quick, easy access to removing that friction. Is that sort of the way that you're also pitching this to your partners?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's about friction, sometimes it's just things that are not doable in some regions, right? You look at examples like the decaf wallet, the non-custodial wallet, very big in Latin America, and they're serving communities that historically have just not had access to the same financial instruments that you and I have, whether it's in the States, Western Europe, or other places. So they're actually getting access to these financial services. And like you said, we started out with stable coins and payments. I like to think about these as kind of like the infrastructure layer, if you want, the checking account of this on-chain economy. And now that we're already there and we have this infrastructure, we can move on to things like, for example, like savings account equivalents with these type of like bonds and more kind of like conservative yield-bearing instruments. And then we can actually also introduce the more adventurous DeFi primitives, frame them as like your investments account, and basically build effectively like neobanks without, in places that historically just haven't had that infrastructure.
Do you feel, so when I got into the space, there was a lot of talk about accessibility, right? Like that's what all of this technology does. It gives people who previously didn't have access to these systems that have created monopolies all over the world access, right?
Yeah.
Tell me what you think. Have we as an industry moved a little bit away from that narrative?
I would say that we're oscillating around it.
Okay.
So I think, every year there's like a new narrative. Every year something like big is happening. A lot of times it's negative, I think, on the more kind of like adventurous, super speculative use cases. And I think a lot of times they're positive with like RWAs and institutions. But at the end of the day, I do think that, a lot of times on the institutional side, we make things better on the margin. But for the retail, and especially people in these kind of like less included regions, we can actually make a much more significant impact. And you look at the network of on and off ramps that we have, MoneyGram is the biggest one with more than 400,000 agents around the world. Like these agents are located in locations where you just don't have access to traditional finance. Banks are not active. We see war zones, for example, in Ukraine, in which we're working with the UNHCR on dispersing aid. Like a lot of these financial institutions are not there anymore, but MoneyGram are still on the ground and we're doing disbursements using them. So the retail inclusion story has always been there, it still is. Unfortunately, with the narrative, sometimes it goes back and forth.
Tomer, thanks so much for joining the broadcast today. We hope you enjoyed the rest of Consensus.
Thank you, have a great day.
Thanks, Tomer.
That was Stellar Development Foundation Chief Product Officer, Tomer Weller.